So today is our first ever Education on Air conference. So we'll actually be hosting over 46 Hangouts on Air. These will be discussions on a number of topics around education technology. So we want to say a big thank you to all of the presenters for giving their time to this, and also obviously to everyone who's watching and everyone who's participating in all of these events. So all of these presenters have access to an early version of Hangouts on Air. So this is a technology which allows you to broadcast and record Hangouts. You'll also be able to find this on our website, which is sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir. That's sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir. So to introduce, I want to introduce Steve. Steve is a deputy head teacher, which is the same as an assistant principal at the Bagnall Primary School in Birmingham in the United Kingdom. He's been teaching in the elementary sector for over 15 years and has a particular interest in maths and ICT education. So Steve actually became a Google Certified teacher at the Google Certified Academy in London 2010 and is now going to speak to us about his experience using Google Chromebooks. So we're really excited. So right now I'm going to pass over to Steve and looking forward to the session.
Great, thanks. Okay, well, I'm going to start by sharing my screen because the basic plan is I'm going to speak for about maybe 3 or 4 minutes about three different areas, and then we can have a discussion about those areas. So I'll just share my screen with you. So starting off with our presentation. Excuse my keyboard. People have told me I have the noisiest keyboard in the known planet, and we'll get going. So I've rather arrogantly called this Chromebooks Faceless Magnificence, and that's because I really think Chromebooks are magnificent and they're faceless. And I think one of the problems we've got in the UK, and you might have this in the States and Canada possibly too, and wherever else you're from, is this kind of culture of celebrity, which kind of gets into technology as well. And you know, you have some devices which have a real celebrity about them, and I really don't think that Chromebooks have any celebrity about them. So they're an antidote to that, because they're like a veilless, no charisma, straight through to the web, basically. So that's why I've called it that title. My presentation's in 3 parts. We're going to look at deploying, and then using, and then managing. But as I said, I'm going to talk for about 3 or 4 minutes on each of those topics, and then hand it over to discussion and questions. It sounds like I'll be asking some questions of some of the distinguished people on the panel here today as well. So deployment first. Well, it has to start with Google Apps. We got our Google Apps domain in October 2010 at lp.pagnallschool.net. We're a small primary school in Birmingham, elementary school you can call it, up to 11-year-olds, so you can't call it K-5, and we have 240 pupils. The British education system is organised very differently from the one in the States, in that we have lots of well, basically every school is kind of independent under huge authorities. So in our school there's 250,000 students. In our authority there's 250,000 students under one district, if you like. There's 420 schools in our authority. So you can imagine managing that as a tech director is a rather tricky process. So generally schools make their own decisions. So we decided to go for Google Apps, as I say, October 2010, trialled it for a term with one class, and then shared it out with the staff. And I really think the Google Apps are kind of the key to using Chromebooks. I don't think Chromebooks are worth getting without Google Apps. So that's the first step. So how did we do that? I started with some help from a friend, Mark Allen, who's supplied at Twitter on @AddInTheClouds. The first thing we did was we made it usable. We didn't make it fancy, we just made it usable, and with the plan that we're going to develop it each year. And if you notice from the slide that I showed previously, the rather kiddified pictures, and that's because they were drawn by the children, and I run the competition each year for children to redesign the icons of the learning platform, of the Google Apps, so that and then each year that there'll be a new winner and a set of new icons for children to use. Okay, so it's never a finished product, and obviously there's more information about Google Apps on the Google website about it. Okay, so on to Chromebooks. Once you have Google Apps and it's working, the first step is to order them. And once orders have been negotiated with the Google billing people, unpack, enroll, charge, put them in a trolley, trial, train, and watch. So that's the kind of the basic sequence of deploying the Chromebooks. I'm going to come on to this when I come to management, but I think the trolley, or you'd call it, maybe in the States you'd call it the cart, is the key to success with Chromebooks. It's getting them to the classroom, and from the classroom is probably one of the most important things. And obviously a trial process is important because the staff respond well when the students are responding well. So trial before training I think is really key, because then you've got loads of evidence from the trial class to say, look, this worked really well, or watch out for this problem. And then the phase that I'm in at the moment is watching, seeing how teachers are using things like that.
Steve, can I just really quickly, I'm not sure that we're seeing your slides advancing. Can you just make sure that you're sharing the right screen with us?
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go back to that then. Apologies. Let's try this.
Perfect. I think that's
so. Sorry, I just whizzed you through my picture because I can show you my kidified icons. So there you go. There's the kidified icons from the front of our learning platform, the landing page, and there's more icons if you look inside there. Yeah, that's a bit more information, and then finally there's some more pictures. So I just want to show you this video now. It's enrolling complicated. It's 1 minute long. Just bear with this. Okay, so I found enrolment really easy, but did anything go wrong? Yes, it did. One of the great things about Chromebooks is they update automatically. So that's absolutely marvellous, except for about last November to December, when they updated from version 14 to 15 and didn't recognise any of our proxy servers. So I had to use lots of paper clips. I found lots of holes in the Chromebooks which I'd never known before. But I have to say the Google support people were absolutely amazing. I learned more about Wi-Fi in that kind of month than I've ever learned before. And actually, it was actually an error with version 15. I think version 16 didn't help much more either. We're on to about version 18. Version 19 is coming out mid-May. This is a Promos, and everything's working fine now. And I can't see that error repeating itself. So that's the kind of deployment stage. I'm going to open up for discussion now. So anyone, any comments or questions about our deployment of Chromebooks?
I'm going to jump in quickly here with a few questions coming in from the comment stream. People are asking, Steve, it's obviously looking really great already. Could you share your link to your slides following this?
Yeah, I certainly will do that. Oh,
fantastic. There's going to be a lot of people happy about that on the comment section.
Great.
I'll pop in and talk about our deployment a little bit. We felt like the thing that took the longest with the deployment was getting the Chromebooks out of the box. So if that says anything about how easy it is to deploy, we were able to open them up, and they have this little plastic coating on the top, and that was the thing that took the longest. But once they were enrolled, we could get them right into the hands of the kids, and we took a few minutes to go sort of through the dashboard, which I'm sure you'll talk about. But we really felt like they were quickly in our hands and then in the hands of the kids.
I've got a question. I'd like to see if anyone, we're going to deploy about 450 of these next year, and I'm thinking of taking them straight out of the box right into the kids' hands and letting them do all the unpacking and all the enrolling. The Wi-Fi password is already known by our students, filtered internet access specifically for our kids. Has anybody deployed directly out of the box straight to the kiddos?
No, we didn't do that, but I think that will work brilliantly.
I have a question.
I'll let you know soon how well it works.
I have a question about the. Am I on? I'm on now. I have a question about the cart. How do you find the design and power management of the cart? I've seen some like MacBook carts that are designed very well, or general laptop carts that are designed very well in terms of power management and ease of getting them in and out, and I've seen some that are designed very poorly, and I've also actually built a couple of carts myself. So I'm wondering if the couple deployments, the couple people that have deployments, how you found the ease of use of the cart for getting them in and out with the students.
Okay, so I used to have a bank of netbooks in carts that was a really cheap cart with just the charging cables of the netbooks kind of wrapped around, and I found that they'd go into the class, and then the teachers who may not be the most IT literate people, most tech savvy people around, would then be really disappointed when the netbooks weren't charged. And so I thought it's really good to invest in an expensive cart actually. So our cart is a third of the price of the Chromebooks because I think it's really important to get that transition into the classroom really perfect. So we've got electronics in the cart that do it. I'll show you a picture of the cart on the next, is it the next stage? No, the third stage of the presentation, and you'll see there's some tiny wires so it's specially designed so that you know, the children can put them in and out really easily.
So you don't have a lot of cord chaos inside the carts themselves?
No. The money we paid for the company that made it was all about make sure there is the absolute minimum of fuss for the students.
If I could jump in real quick, Steve, we got 30 this year just on a pilot program, and with the 30 it came with the Google cart, the one made specifically. That thing is a piece of art. I love it. It works great. It comes with Velcro strips for you to pack all your wires up in the back. It's got a nice Google logo on the outside of it, the Chrome logo. It's a beautiful looking cart, and it works fantastic.
Just to clarify on that point, unfortunately, that the card is actually currently only available in the US. So for the rest of us outside of the US, unfortunately, there are different options available.
Sorry.
Glad to hear the one is great. For all of the Americans listening in, I'm sure that it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question actually, probably for a few people can answer it here. Matthew Sensen has asked, did you assign a laptop to each student, or do they log into any computer?
Right. Well, we do assign a laptop to each student, so that each class would have a numbered laptop, a numbered Chromebook for them. But actually, it's not much of a barrier to sign into a different one at the moment. There's like one extra click you need to do to do that, and all the students actually have worked that out now. So the students are generally picking up any Chromebook and they're just doing the work on it. So initially that was a problem with, that proxy thing I mentioned. It was more of a problem than it used to be, where there was quite a few steps to go through to use a different Chromebook from the one you've been set up on. But it really isn't a problem now. And version 19 of Chromos looks absolutely brilliant. I've seen the beta version of that, and it's looking really smooth.
Actually, we have an even more important question coming from Giuseppe Angelico La Pietra over YouTube, who's asked, what is a Chromebook? Is it a tablet? That is a very important question if someone hasn't heard of one before.
Yes. So a Chromebook is a laptop that is web only. That is a Chromebook. Laptop, web only. And it is not a touchscreen computer. So that's an important thing to remember. It is not a tablet.
Question about how often do revisions to Chrome OS come out?
Seems to be about every 6 weeks. So then there's 2 different cycles. Their main, stable version will be every 6 weeks, but the ones are often coming out every 3 or 4 weeks, and then they've got an even more kind of more up-to-date version, but it's quite unstable. That's like every couple of weeks. So sometimes they overlap. Sometimes the beta version's the same as the stable version. What I do is I keep one Chromebook on beta, so I can just see what's coming up.
Users, we're talking about sort of small incremental changes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, somebody at Google likes to move things around occasionally, so you see the sign out button in a different place. I guess maybe there's somebody bored somewhere, but and sometimes they add more faces on, so you can see the different users, which is quite fun for the other students to say, oh, I use the same Chromebook as so and so from class so and so. That's quite interesting.
Is version 19 supposed to be somewhat different? Isn't it supposed to have a desktop kind of feel to it?
It is looking a bit different. I haven't spent ages looking at it, but the sign-in screen is you've got more people on it, and again they've moved the sign-out place into a different place. So yeah, it's a little different.
I guess with the gentleman who's about to deploy 450 of them, I guess a concern would be, your bandwidth usage for an update every 6 weeks that's coming down the pipeline. I wonder if you can cache that somehow locally.
I'm not aware of the ability to do that. We've been beefing up our bandwidth over the last 4 or 5 years, and we've got a one-to-one program now, and we don't have any real issues with it. The other thing is these kids are going to be taking them home. We're deploying one-to-one. They once we hand them off, we don't collect them until the end of the school year. So a lot of these updates, my guess, are going to be happening at home on their own wireless.
Wow. Okay, well, if it's all right, we can move on to the next section now. We're going to go on to looking at using the Chromebooks. So is everybody okay if I get on with that? Great. Well, I'm going to share my presentation with you again. Okay. So on to using the Chromebooks. So as I said, I started with a trial class, and one of the things that was great at the start was the fast start and fast finish. As I mentioned, we used to have some netbooks in school, and it was a real barrier for teachers because unlike Roland, we had a slow Wi-Fi network, and so what would happen with a set of 30 netbooks is that 1 or 2 devices wouldn't log on, and it would take 2 or 3 minutes for them to shut down and start back up again. With Chromebooks, you still get the same problem. 1 or 2 devices don't log on, and that's not an issue with the Chromebooks, it's an issue with our access points. But with the fast start and fast finish, it's just a 10-second turnaround to log them back on. So in terms of teaching time and learning time, not very much is wasted. They're really light, so I've got some pictures of students using them while maybe another group's doing some painting and another group's doing box modelling and things like that. So, and then you can move them around to different computers and say, oh, can you not work near that kind of water and stuff like that. And it just makes them flexible for the students to use. They can carry them up to you and show you what they're doing on them, and share their documents with you really easily. The keyboard makes them really productive for the age band that we've got them in at the moment, which is the 7 to 11 age band, where their typing skills are fast enough. I have to say that the younger children, the younger students, maybe K to 3, K to 2 possibly, that a tablet device is probably a preferable device because of children's typing skills. And lastly, they're flexible. Whatever you use on the internet, whatever apps you're using, we use a range of things that we pay subscriptions to, a range of things that are free, like the Google apps and Prezi and things like that. The Chromebooks are as good as the app that you're using. right at the start as well, we looked at what the negatives were of Chromebooks, and I had Year 6 talk about that a little bit, and they mentioned the trackpad, they didn't like it, and they didn't like there was no Microsoft. But over time, using Google Apps on the Chromebooks, those issues have gone away, but still the big issue remains of children remembering their own passwords and usernames, and it really is worth going through that because that's an important digital literacy skill. And finally, I mentioned the Wi-Fi. That is probably the biggest barrier to using the Chromebooks. Yeah, as Roland said, beefing up the Wi-Fi. We're about to move from 54 megabits per second to 300 using a system called Meraki, and it's going to be great, I think, when that's working. But we're going to go on to a demonstration now, so I'm going to share another bit of screen with you. There's a picture of some students doing various activities in the classroom using Chromebooks. So we're going to follow this link now. I might actually share this page with you. Okay. And what I've got on this screen is some of my students, even though it's after school for them because it's 5 o'clock here in the UK, they've been doing some writing on there. I've got some different viewers up here.
We can still see your presentation, actually.
Okay, I'll reshare this with you then. Thank you. Let me share this document with you, and you can see what we're talking about.
That is a very loud keyboard.
Apologies for my keyboard. Yeah, we're almost there now. It's got special buttons. It's Toshiba, see, it's no, I won't make a comment. Okay, so I'm going to share this screen with you now. I've got a live Google Doc with some students logged on. Here it is. Oh, and one of them they're finished. Okay. So I've got 5 students logged on after school. Well, four of them actually. So what have you been doing? Stick that into the chat box. And in the last few minutes, they've been writing what they've been doing on the Chromebooks and what's good about them. So I've got Olivia writing something down here. So you can see that the students writing live on the Google Doc at the moment. And it's just really amazing in classroom having these flexible devices right out in front of you with a group of 6 students all working on the same document, collaborating together on maybe writing a biography together, or putting some story ideas together. One of the great things that we did with the Chromebook was planning for a Christmas fair, so that the children were learning how to use spreadsheets, working in groups on developing their business plan on the spreadsheets, and then they were able to use a Chromebook to put some more things in, collaborate with other people within their group, and then and at the same time get on with designing their product for it. So I've got some various things here. So I've got some Matthew M is saying about what would make Chromebooks even better. He'd like better 3D on the Chromebooks, getting quite ambitious there. If I scroll back up, what have we done on them? The Chromebooks are amazing with paid games, and also they're amazing when it comes to learning. Google Docs and Google Maps are the best documents to work on. I really enjoy them. Chromebooks are brilliant. All year been doing fun, exciting stuff, and some educational stuff from Ben. Chromebooks are fantastic to carry around because they're small and certainly great. Chromebooks are excellent netbooks. That can do many things. You can play games, other things that you have fun with. You also sign into Google just like you log into a normal laptop. They're great. Okay, so generally, the Chromebooks are just students think that they're marvellous, really. And then what's good about them? Chromebooks are much faster than normal laptops, much smaller. I think that's great. So kind of hammering the point in that the students think they're absolutely marvellous. So on to discussion then. Any thoughts about that?
I have a question. What limitations, other than the 3D graphics, other than 3D, what limitations have you found?
Okay, we've got Aviary as part of our Google Apps suite, and we've found a big problem with Aviary. Firstly, again, it's a bandwidth issue that you get to about 12 Chromebooks and you stop hearing the sound. So that can be fixed there. But actually, there's some software issues with Aviary at the moment, and the windows aren't coming up very nicely on there. I mean, it's a third-party suite onto Google Apps, so that hasn't been ideal actually, because we're just really trying to. It's a mixture. It's photo, it's audio. We've been using it mainly as an audio editor because we do quite a lot of all that. A deprived area of an inner city in Birmingham, and actually our main challenge is teaching our children maths and English. But actually, I'm complaining about something that's an add-on to the school. The basic productivity is using documents is fantastic.
Thanks for that. I just want to point out as well that for Google Apps for Education, that encompasses everything that people might be familiar with: Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Documents. But Avery, that Steve mentioned, is a third-party application that is built. You can have a look on, if you just Google the Google Chrome store, you can have a look and see what other applications other third-party companies have made available. You can integrate really easily into your Google Apps for your students. Many of them are free as well.
I've got an answer to Aaron as well, if I. But the only limitation we've seen so far, and again, this year we only had a pilot program, so I had 30 of them deployed out in one specific classroom, is that the rest of the school is still on Microsoft. So for those kids, if they were trying to get something from the other teachers, if a teacher posted, say, a Word document on their website, my Google Chrome users had to download it locally. They could save it locally onto the machine. They couldn't see it. Then they'd log into their Google account and upload it and have it converted into a Google Docs, and so their integration with that teacher was seamless. But next year there won't be that big a problem because all of the teachers will be on Google Apps.
I have a quick question. I guess the kids were talking about how great Google Docs.
Microsoft is. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go for it.
No, that's okay. Great Google Docs were, and I guess my point or my thought is that you don't need a Chromebook to use Google Docs. So what is the greatest advantage to having a Chromebook rather than a netbook or another laptop or a tablet? What is, if it's only Google Docs, Google Docs are great, but you don't need a Chromebook. So what's the greatest advantage to having a Chromebook?
I can just throw my 2 cents in. Right now we've got a one-to-one. We're using Dell Latitudes with Windows and all that sort of thing. I'm seeing those machines a lot. Viruses, hard drive crashes, those types of things. I deployed 30 of those Chromebooks this year. I haven't seen one all year. So that, and because there is some limitation of like downloading games and those types of things, they're not as susceptible to virus, and the kids are really using them more as an instructional tool and not having all the fun with everything else that sometimes gets them in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Certainly, in my position, assistant principal, I'm not a tech director. Technology is just one of the hats that I wear. And it's a real pain when I'm spending all my time fixing viruses and that sort of thing, and sending that. Once we got past this proxy problem that is now cured, they've just been sailing really.
One thing I'm having trouble with is making a case for Chromebooks. The cost, with the hardware and the 3-year support package costs about the same as an iPad. And I was wondering if anybody can sort of speak to, not to me, but so I can sort of assemble some information, really making a case for Chromebooks, say, over iPads, given that the cost is about the same.
That's a good question. So, it's also come in from Cherie on the Google Plus page. So.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Roland can probably scale this one up for me, but at my scale, I employ a technician 1 day a week, and with Chromebooks, I can now employ them 1 day a fortnight. So it's saving us half our technician time, basically. So And depending on the scale of your school, I think that will just carry on scaling.
I could jump in as well.
Go ahead, Molly.
And sort of say that, you know, we really ask our teachers, we have everything. We've got iPads, we've got Chromebooks, we've got a lot of different, more of a bring your own device kind of system. But we really ask our teachers, what do you want to do with, you know, what do you want the students to be able to do? So it's kind of fun because, you know, we have a lot of teachers that are using iPads as their teaching device. So it makes them mobile. It's a digital, you know, document camera that they can take around. But as soon as the students need to really start doing some work in, as far as docs and presentations and some rule typing and, you know, some of the work that they're used to doing within Microsoft Word, it's really great to have the Chromebook. One of our best features of the Chromebook is the management as well. I don't know about deploying, you know, one-to-one iPad. We don't do that, but we do have a bunch of iPads that are either shared devices or they go to different classes. And to manage the apps and who's buying them and the volume purchasing and all of that piece, really the Chromebook, I don't care if I take, you know, Chromebook number 7 or Chromebook number 30, because whatever Chromebook I get, I log in, all my apps and all my extensions are there. So as a shared device, it really, really is a great tool, especially when we are not going to be deploying one-to-one, but we really do share the devices between grade levels and students and all sorts of projects. And so we really feel like it's been at ground level a really easy device that we can share between the students.
And I'd echo what Molly says. I think as a productivity tool, the iPad has some limitations. Once students start creating documents, presentations, that the Chromebook just lends itself a lot better to that. The other part of it is the iPad management, as Molly said. It's a headache. How do you deploy, you know, a paid, let's say I've got a $4.99 app on an iPad and I need to get it out to 30 iPads. Unless you're buying some kind of management tool or using something from Apple, it's tough to do. Whereas with the Chromebooks, it's a snap.
Yeah, there's actually a new mobile device management component to Lion Server. I've seen a demo of it. I guess so. I had one other question I just flaked out on. I'm sorry. Oh, I was wondering if perhaps the gal from Google, I don't remember how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Is the fact that there's no iPad app for Google Drive right now sort of a cynical market play to push the Chromebooks for a while?
No, absolutely not. So with Google Apps, everything is about 100% web. So from whatever device you want to use, you should be able to access Google Apps. So that is extremely important to us, regardless of where you are, what device you have, that you should be able to log in. And as long as you can access a browser, you can access any of your apps. So that's always our motto: anytime, anywhere, any place, any device. Steve, I'm just wondering, there's a lot of questions coming in here from people asking about the management console and how that works. Are you going to dive into that later on, or is that something that we should have a chat about now?
Yeah, let's go into that now, shall we? We'll go into managing. So, yes, let's start then. So I'll reshare the presentation with you.
Perfect.
Lost it. Okay. And we're back. Okay, so managing the Chromebooks then. Here's a picture of our absolutely marvellous trolley there. I'll give them a little plug. LapSafe, British company, did a great job. You can see the cabling there, absolutely fantastic. It's so good. The little blue lights come on when they're charging. And I know we were supposed to lock the doors, but sometimes I leave them open just so I can see the blue lights, because they are fantastic. It's like going into a room, you know, on the Starship Enterprise. It's just amazing. So, you know, really fantastic trolley, really secure, does weigh kind of a bit, quarter of a ton or something. But, you know, in terms of getting them into the classroom and getting them out, quick start for the children, the students can load them in and load them. We're not at the point, I'd love to go to one-to-one, but I just can't afford it yet. So, you know, maybe a couple of years down the line, I'll be ringing up Roland and seeing exactly how it's gone. But, yeah. That's been brilliant. So in terms of managing the staff, I won't go to this link now. I just jotted together some ideas for the staff, some non-negotiables. I wrote them down, stuck them on the trolley, shared them with the staff about you know, the bottom line of how we put things away and get them out and things like that. Gave the staff some training, modeled the use myself, and I've trained up some able students within the school to you know, go and support classes who you know, maybe using Chromebooks for the first time, being in class to help, and then I just sat back and watched them happening. It's just, you know, marvellous after the first couple of weeks to see people come in, and I haven't timetabled them or anything or said you must do this, but I've kind of just let it grow, and people are asking more and more, can we have the trolley? And you know, maybe it's starting to put a case for actually we need a trolley in each classroom, or a cart I should say, for the US folk. Okay, so just going to flip now to the management console. I want to talk about blacklisting, whitelisting URLs, and setting homepage and extensions and things like that. Now, I have to say that we're early days at the moment with Chromebooks, and because we're a small school, we have quite an open approach. We're not in a position where we need to do lots of blacklisting or whitelisting, and we have an ongoing conversation with parents and students about the kind of things we should be blacklisting and whitelisting. So, so you won't see much in my management console, but if I can just get that open for you. Just bear with me while I open that up. So I'm just going to get into the console now. Okay, so I'm just going into our learning platform with my heavy keyboard. Okay, I might as well show what this looks like. Just sign in and I can show you what it looks like.
I'm just going to answer a really quick question here. Sorry, while we're just waiting on you, Steve. I have a question here from Arco de Bonte, and a few other people are asking, what about the battery life? Battery life should last about 8 hours. So has that been your experience as well, Steve? Does it last about 8 hours?
Yeah, definitely. What we found is, again, comparing them to netbooks previously, and that we'd have to recharge the netbooks at dinner time, whereas now the Chromebook will last all day in a classroom, or can take it to another classroom and carry on lasting there. So you know, it's been a full day of use. So I couldn't guarantee 8.5 hours because our school day is only 6 hours long, but it definitely does last a full school day, which has been marvellous. Okay, I'm going to screen share our learning platform with you now. This is what our students see. Bit of a mess at the moment, so it's a work in progress, as I said. But if I just click into the mail, log into the admin console, then you can see the kind of level you can get into with our learning platform. Can you all see that? Are we seeing this?
Yes,
still?
we can see it. We can see your admin panel now just showing up here. So if people haven't seen this before, this is what you when you use a normal Gmail account, for example, you won't have this, but when you sign up for Google Apps for Education, this is a dashboard that you can use to manage and set security settings, etc., for your users.
Okay, so onto the settings. You get lots of different panels. I was very excited to find out recently that there's a mobile panel, because I've discovered by accidentally enrolling my own mobile phone into it, cell phone I should say, and then if we go into Chromos there, it tells you some basic information about the Chromebook, the device settings. You can look at the, you know, that sort of thing. But I'll just wait for the organisational settings to come up now, which are loading. Seems there's a lot of things going on at the moment. Okay. Struggling to load. Let's see if any of these settings come up. Oh, here we go. So there's some various basic device settings. You can tell you about shipments and and things like that. But hopefully the organizational settings are working. So the first thing is that sometime within your Google Apps, it's good to split your organizations up. So I have a Year 6 group, and a Year 5 group, and a Year 4 group, which roughly correspond to Year 6 is about 5, and Year 5 is about 4, and stuff like that for US schools. And if I go to, say, the Year 6 panel, I can see, can you all see this stuff? Yeah. That I've currently allowed Year 6 to configure their own proxy, because I'm starting to allow some of them to take them home to use. Don't tell the head teacher that. And then secondly, I have down here you can set things like the home page that it always defaults to when you click the home button, and then you can start blacklisting things or setting pages to go on startup, so that they always see a certain set of pages. I've been experimenting just today with blacklisting, so I was experimenting earlier. I kind of starred them all out and then whitelisted some sites and things like that. And you can allow apps and extensions, and then for every different group you can make it different. So you know, I can say, well, I don't want my Year 5s to access YouTube this week because they keep looking at a video that I don't particularly like. And likewise, I want them to avoid the Chrome store this week because they keep only using it to get Angry Birds, and then maybe next week I'll change that. So you can set the settings up, and they've been really flexible actually. Yeah, I'm sure other people can say more about the settings, but what it's made me realise is there's a whole level of filtering that exists at the district level. And if I went entirely Chromebooks, I could probably do it all at my level. And that's quite a step for us in the UK school system, but it's something that quite excites me. So any questions about that?
Yeah, I have a quick question. When you purchase the Chromebooks, do those Chromebooks, are they associated with a specific Google Apps for Education account? I just had a quick look at one of my school accounts, and there's no Chromebook OS option in the settings. So I'm wondering if when you buy the Chromebooks, are they associated with a specific account, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Let's see if you want to check that one, but yes.
Yeah, but as soon as you get them, they appear as if by magic in your account. So where you had no Chromos, it suddenly is just there when Chromebooks are purchased.
But then you also have to, once you get the Chromebook, you open the Chromebook and you enroll it into your domain, so that once you have to do the physical enrollment, which is just Control-E, and you associate it to your domain, so that the domain things that he was saying in his dashboard, those apply with the open on startup and the apps and extensions or things like that. So you do have to do a little piece, but once you can track the shipment of the Chromebooks in your domain as well, and that's when they turn it on, is once you order them from Google. And that's if you order them from Google, you get the management features.
So is there a potential, if students set them up themselves, could they set them up with a email address that is not within your domain, so a regular Gmail address? So would that be maybe one of the considerations when allowing students to set them up?
You can decide which accounts they can use to log into your Chromebooks. You can say only allow them to use the school domain to log into this Chromebook. You can allow them to use their own private one if they want. You can turn on guest access or turn it off. It's a local decision.
But you can always wipe the Chromebook and then re-enroll it into your domain.
Wouldn't that be done at setup though? So I'm guessing if you had like 400 like you're looking at, if you allow the kids to set them up, they would be allowed to use whatever address they wanted, or would you have control of that before they even did that?
That's an excellent question. They have to be enrolled before you can control them.
Right.
I think right now I've got them open, the ones that are already enrolled. So I'm assuming whatever settings I've put towards my domain, the ones that I have already, those settings would go into effect with the new ones as well. That's my assumption.
Yeah, and so I've used some with staff, and what I do with the staff is I allow the staff to use the Chromebooks for their own Gmail. No, I can't remember how to say it. A new window that will then you can do the whole your own Gmail account, so you can keep your Gmail account and your Google Apps domain account open at the same time.
And have you made that different for staff and students, Steve? Is that a difference there?
Yeah, we do at the moment. So the students just have their own Google Apps email address, and they're currently not allowed to use their own personal email address on the Chromebooks. Again, our students do stop at 11 years old, so I guess it's different when you've got older students in.
We have a question in here from Eric Griffith, just on the Google Plus page. He's asked, what is there a physical difference between the Chromebook I can buy on Amazon versus the one I could buy from Google? I know that the Chromebook purchased from Google has management console, but is that the primary difference? If you want me to take that one as well, Steve, no problem.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the only difference, actually. I got my first Chromebook from Best Buy last year, yeah, that was completely unenrollable. But the ones I ordered from Google were, but otherwise they were absolutely identical.
So that's the basic thing. The physical device themselves are the same, but the ability to enroll them is only enabled if you buy them directly from Google. And the advantage of that is that you have the ability to manage it, to set those proxy settings, to whitelist, blacklist domains, all those kind of things that Steve showed you on the management console. If you don't mind, I'm just going to fire out some questions here as well. I've got one here from Greg Klein, who asks. Oh, sorry, Greg has replied to Joel, so thank you, Greg. We see people replying to each other in the comments. Brilliant. Joel Lewski has asked, can a Chromebook update server be set up locally? If you want to update 100 Chromebooks with an OS update, does the OS update need to be downloaded from the internet 100 times, or how does that work?
Okay, so a bit like Roland, we've got 30, and one of the things I discovered chatting to the guys at Google on the Chromos team is that the updates are all held in different data centers all around the world. So at one point when we had our proxy issues, we were trying to block a particular proxy setting, but he said that because they mirror each other all around the world, that actually you can't do that. But I had to through Google. And it kind of happens in the background while the students are using them.
And how did that process work, actually? How did you get in touch with the support team? How did that work?
Initially, I rang somebody up, panicked. That was my first thing. But I know there's a Google Apps service password now, and I had an issue just last week actually, and logged an issue with them, and I had a reply, I think it was 24 hours later, and it's completely sorted the issue out. So I have found that the Google support with it has been absolutely brilliant, and it kind of, and that's kind of what, you know, for Mayor who's thinking about how do you argue the case, it does reduce technician costs having Chromebooks because somebody else is doing a lot of the technician work.
That is something to bear in mind actually as well when we were asked what's the differences between the regular Chromebooks that you can buy on Amazon or Best Buy. That is a big thing, that you do have access to the support team. So that's something you don't have if you don't have the management console, which is brilliant. So it means 24/7 you can, you know, call some of our support team, you can email them. Hopefully they'll get back to you with an answer. Hopefully your experience will be as smooth as Steve's. I'm just going to run back up through some of these comments. Greg Klein has asked, I think we might have answered this one, but with Chromebooks, my middle schoolers get one set of permissions when they log in, and my high school students get a different set of permissions. So I'm guessing, do you have different settings for different year groups, Steve, or how do you?
Well, yeah, as I said, I've kept it quite open at the moment, and I'm just experimenting with that. But it just depends on how you organise your school. I happen to have organised my school into year groups. Some people just organise their schools into students and faculty. You might set it for different groups of year groups. The Google Apps itself is completely customizable when you set your students up, and that's why you need Google Apps first before you go to Chromebooks, so that you can organize how you think through how your school is organized.
I have a question more about the management of users and organizations with Google Apps. Do your students, do they belong to a subdomain like students.school.co.uk, and then the faculty and staff have a different subdomain?
In my school, they're all the same domain. So I have just for some reason we've named the staff by their first names. So they're all Dave or Louise at haganallschool.net. Because I was trying to think of the very easiest email address possible for each staff member, and the students have slightly more complex names, but yeah, they're all part of the same domain.
Then maybe Grant can answer this. Can you assign an organizational unit of users a subdomain, or would I have to create a separate Google Apps domain if I wanted to have, let's say, students.school.org for my students? And then just school.org for my faculty and staff.
Yeah, no, you can have set up different subdomains.
So I can have one Google Apps domain and assign out different subdomains to different groups of users. Okay, that's very handy.
That sounds like, Susan, have you done that yourself?
Actually, at our school with our Google Apps, we actually have our Flagstaff domain. That's the name of our school for our staff. And then we have a subdomain of our students, because the students get email in 3rd grade. So we have an FSA student account domain or subdomain for our students to use as well. And then we also have a volunteer unit that we use for just our volunteers. It's separate domains subdomains we've created for the various groups within our school.
So there's various different ways of setting it up, but you can, what we can do perhaps is post some of these links, if you look on the Google Apps for Education Help Center, there's various different ways of setting up your school domain, setting up subdomains, setting up different ways. So depending on how you best want to structure your own school's system, there should be a way to suit you if you have a look on the Google Apps for Education website. So most things are on google.com/a/edu, or if you just Google for the Help Center, you should be able to find it as well. I just have a question here from James Janssen asking, is there a minimum order for school to start purchasing Chromebooks with support?
It's 10. Is it 10?
10. So there is a minimum order, so you can, obviously the whole benefit of buying Chromebooks directly from Google is that you can network them. So the idea being that if you want to purchase one Chromebook for personal use, then the whole idea of having a network group isn't so essential. So we have a minimum order of 10, and we think that that's a suitable number that you should need to network together in order to make it useful for you.
All right, well, I just wanted to thank Steve and Grayanne and everybody else. I'm going to knock off for a coffee before the next session. But thanks a lot. This has been very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're running sessions. So today, this session is the first session of many happening today. So if you go visit the Google in Education Google Plus page, you'll be able to find out all the information that's on there. You'll be able to see all of the different sessions that are happening today also on our website, which is sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir. And also, if you want to keep a track of Steve's Chromebook experiences, he keeps them updated at frogphilp.com/blog. So that's frogphilp.com/blog. Or you can follow him on Twitter. His handle is @frogphilp. That's frogphilp. Okay. So thanks a million. We have a huge number of questions coming in. So Steve, maybe we want to hang around and answer some of those questions in for a few minutes. Steve has already put himself on mute.
It's not a bad experience, isn't it? No, where are the questions coming from? I can't see them.
So yeah, we've got questions coming in from all over the place. We've got questions on your Google Plus page. We've got questions on your YouTube page. So let me see. I've just plus one some of these that we can have a quick flick through. One here from Shannon Steffies, which I think is a really important one. Do you have any concerns about bandwidth usage? You mentioned that a couple of times, but if you want to maybe elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, I do have concerns about bandwidth. We've got 54 megabits per second here at the moment via some kind of mobile Netgear points, and we're going to a managed system over the next year. So we're going to use a system called Meraki, which looks absolutely amazing, and it's a cloud-based management solution that certainly isn't free, but looks absolutely excellent. And so I'm hoping to be able to do audio editing, do something like AV on the Chromebooks with that, and maybe you can go into some kind of whole class online video editing and see if we can push the bandwidth for that.
Fantastic. Thank you. I need to keep remembering to unmute myself. Ian Nairn has posted up saying, just out of interest, are you able to tell us how many people are connected in this session? As I assume it's more than a few people that I can see. So yes, Ian, we had quite a number of people who were logged in, who were able to chat. This is basically the way Google Hangout on Air works, is that you have maximum of 10 people, as you would in a normal Hangout, that you can access. But the actual stream itself is posted to YouTube. So I'm sure Steve will be editing and looking at this presentation and posting it back up on YouTube that you can rewatch later on. But yes, so we actually don't know how many people are following us, so it's quite exciting just to see all the comments flowing in.
Yeah, and I'll obviously be cutting out all the times that I say which is one of my bad habits.
So let's have a look here.
I'm aware, Gwen, I'm about to be kicked out by the caretaker in a few minutes.
Oh, perfect. What we might do is we can follow up with some of the questions that we haven't answered on the Google Plus page directly, and that might make it easier.
Okay, that's lovely. Well, thanks for that. Shall I end the broadcast now?
Yes, you can end the broadcast, and thanks everyone for watching.